Welcome to my solo podcast on the Apple TV series Dark Matter. All in all, it was a good series. I liked it. It had 9 episodes. The ending, I have some things to say about that, but we'll talk about that later. Um, I was wondering if anyone caught the little Easter eggs they had in the show and from It's a Wonderful Life, the old, I think it was in the 1946 movie It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart, which is my favorite Christmas movie ever, holiday movie. There were a couple of nods to that in there. Remember the scene when the Jason, we'll call him Jason 2, the Jason who did the kidnapping, when he was coming down the steps in Jason 1's house and he grabs the knob on the staircase and it's loose. That's a nod from It's a Wonderful Life when Jimmy Stewart was running down the stairs and that knob kept coming off of the staircase. And then there was another one back when Jason, when he finally made it back and he ran into the village tap and he asked the bartender if he knew who he was. And he was like, yes, I know who you are. And he hugged him and then he went running down the street. That was similar to when George Bailey got back to Pottersville and he asked people if they knew who he was and he was all happy and he ran down the street. And in Dark Matter, there was a marquee and it said it's a Wonderful Life was playing at the theater as he was running down the street. And I thought that was kind of cute because I really love that movie and I like this show. So anyway, a couple of things that I was a little curious about while watching. Remember when Jason 2 took Leighton into the box for the first time and he gave him the ampule, I guess, and he drank it. That's like the only time anyone has ever taken it orally instead of injecting it. So I thought that was weird, unless I missed something, but I've watched that a couple of times and I still don't get why they had him drink the potion for lack of a better word and not have him inject it. And they only did that once. So I found that a little odd. And then when Ryan went through, remember when Jason 2 also took Ryan through, he injected it and Ryan didn't get all weird like everybody else did when they first took the medicine potion or whatever. Nobody else was as like sick and like passed out or whatever like Jason was. So I found that a little odd. Now, when Amanda and Jason 1 escaped into the box and they got to a world when Amanda was kind of freaking out because she just couldn't take it anymore. For some reason, that scene, the snow world, when they went into the snow world, it bugged me. I don't know what it was about that world that I didn't like. I thought it just felt like a waste of time to me. And then I was just annoyed at how she freaked out. I mean, I know they explained, how she trained the box pilots not to do that, and she did it. I don't know. That world to me felt like a waste of time. I don't know. I did like how when Jason 1 and Amanda started figuring out what exactly it was that controlled what world they came in and out of in the box. And how when they were talking about Blair before, and then the next world they were in, it was the world with Blair and those big ass bugs or whatever they were flying around. That was crazy. And I don't know why. Like she said she didn't want to go back in the box, but man, it seems like any other world would have been better than that. But I know she said she still wasn't able to control it where she went. But geez, like that world seemed, I don't know. Oh yeah. Back to when Amanda and Jason fled and they got in the box for the first time, and then Leighton comes after them. Like, okay, first of all, Leighton goes in the box and he's like yelling, Jason, like he's going to find them. But I'm not going to lie, I thought it worked like that too. I'm like, he's going to catch up with them. They need to hurry up. I was not thinking, oh, it's his reality and it's totally different. I'm thinking, hurry up and leave because Leighton's going to find you. So I kind of chuckled about that. But man, Leighton's energy, whew, like the worlds he was in, he was already angry and like desperate when he got into the box. So when they show later him at the end of, I think it was at the end of that episode when he ran into the box, when they show him like just all worn and tattered and bloody and he's limping, and can you even imagine the worlds he was probably in? That's crazy because his mindset was crazy to begin with. It was erratic and he was just all angry. They did a lot of, you know, flash, Charlie and Daniela, the family time, which I know they had to do because Jason too, was interacting with them. But those were probably my least favorite scenes, really. The scene when Jason too gave Charlie the ice cream with the nuts in it, and Charlie had an allergy. That felt a lot like they wanted that to happen, like the writers, we're going to do this so he can mess up and give him, nuts, and he has an allergy, and then that's going to make Daniela question him even more. I feel like they could have probably done a different scene or a different, because he was in the car. You randomly have a box, some ice cream you went and picked up in the car. I don't know, something about that scene. I know he supposedly picked it up for him, but something about the way they did that scene was weird to me, because I know Charlie probably felt like, he didn't have to, he's 16. I know he felt like he didn't have to question what his dad gave him, so he just went ahead and ate it. But Charlie's also old enough to, I mean, if you have allergies, wouldn't you check the ice cream? I know it was from his dad. I get that. But something about that whole scene, it was almost like Charlie's not a toddler, So I feel like they could have done that in a different way. Maybe like Jason too, when he was cooking dinner or something, they should have maybe made it to where he cooked something that had nuts in it. But that whole ice cream thing was almost seemed forced. He might as well just said, "Here, eat some nuts." That's how it felt to me when I saw that scene. And back to Amanda. Okay, so as they were traveling through the worlds, I'm thinking, didn't she, maybe I missed it, but didn't she have family in the world that she left? Because she was saying, like she had nothing to go back to, but didn't she? And also when they were in the perfect world that Amanda picked for herself to stay in, and she said the Amanda in that world had gone missing 2 years ago. I'm sure that will be brought up again if they get a second season. There's something to that, you know what I mean? Because that was real specific to say she went missing 2 years ago. Like people, people do go missing, but that was just mentioned randomly. So I feel like that's like maybe setting up for a possible storyline if they get a second season. Now, Jason, too, when he decides that he wants to go visit Amanda, the Amanda in Jason Lund's world, the psychiatrist Amanda, like, first of all, Jason, too, was kind of, he was kind of a dick because he was trying to make this perfect life, but everything was just about him, really, when you think about it. Everything he did was about him and what he thought would make Daniela happy, but he never really asked her what would make her happy. And I think that's what started to annoy her, on top of him doing weird shit. But when he went to go see Amanda, and she was talking to him, and I think it was the last time, well, it was the last time he would go see her, so that was the third, he saw her 3 times, and it was the third visit, and he starts kind of picking on her because she wasn't saying what he wanted her to say. And he didn't like what she was saying to him, and it was just kind of a dick move. But it would explain his personality, because he's selfish, just like what he did to Jason 1. Stealing his life and trading places with him. And isn't it something how nobody could control where they went in the box except that Jason? But he had plenty of time to figure it out. But I always wondered how he was able to get the Jason 1 into his world. Like he said to Jason one, while he was going under, he said, think about the life you could have had and hold on to that, like, it's no tomorrow. So I'm thinking, so he could get to the world he wants him to be at, I guess. But if you think about that box, that really wouldn't have worked like that, because the first Jason one was already, he had been kidnapped. So in his mind, he had to be feeling frantic and panicky. So how did he end up in Jason two's world? Unless their minds thought the same, but I don't know. That to me wouldn't have happened. Not as sensitive as that box is, and in the situation that Jason one was in, he had just been attacked, so he wasn't thinking calmly or thinking of the life he could have had, you know. And speaking of selfish, what he did to that Ryan, the mechanic Ryan, that was crazy and not well thought out either. He just takes people and throws them into worlds and, whatever, they can figure it out. Like, come on. That was crazy. And then the man, and Brian was on the wagon. So this man who's been sober all these years, and you're just gonna, man, that Jason 2 was a trip. I got thinking back, he was a trip. So when Jason and Amanda finally end up parting ways, and she decides to stay in her world, and he goes on, and then he eventually gets back to where he needs to be. When he came back to his world and went into the gun shop to try to purchase a gun, I'm not gonna lie, so that situation, he went in to purchase a gun, and then he ended up getting a knife because he didn't know he needed to. There was a waiting period, whatever. Okay, so then this was a really good ending to that episode. So when he left, and then another Jason came in and did the exact same thing, I'm not gonna lie, I was so confused. I thought that Jason that came in after he left was Jason 2. So, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought it up until the next episode. So that whole Jason thing was confusing me. So when the next episode started and they showed Jason 2 went to take the trash out, and then another Jason attacked him. Okay, I was really confused because the whole Jason's splitting thing, I was, my head was spinning. So I didn't realize who that Jason was. The one, I think I might have still been thinking he was, I don't know who I thought he was. But anyway, so when Jason 1 ended up going to the bar, remember, like he came out of the hotel and there was a Jason following him. And then that he ended up going to the bar, and he lost that Jason, and he walks in to the bar and the bartender's there, and he asks him for a drink, and he goes, "That was fast." And he looks over and there's another Jason sitting in the chair. Again, I'm still confused. Or sitting in the booth. And why the bartender he looked like that was strange, but that's all he did. Like, he didn't say anything like, "Dude, you got a twin," or something. The bartender just kind of brushed it off, which that was weird. So they sat down and they talked and they explained it for me because I had no idea what was going on. So I kind of get it, but I still don't. So if you do get it, if you can, drop down in the comments and tell me, because I have no idea. I mean, I get what they were saying, and I kind of get what happened. I guess they whatever, but I choose not to think about that part because it's very confusing. Oh, and another thing is when they were sitting there talking, and the one Jason mentioned Kankakee, and he said the Jason 2 doesn't know about Kankakee, and they only know about it because of Charlie. I'm not sure what they're talking about, unless they're talking about the house that Charlie took them to. But I feel like that's not what they were talking about, because Jason didn't know that until Charlie told them at that time when they were driving to Kankakee in the last episode. So, and I'm not even sure that's where the house was. But if that's what they were talking about, it didn't translate that way, because when they were sitting at the bar, when the both Jasons were sitting in the booth, they both were saying, you know, the other Jason doesn't know about Kankakee, but neither did that. Okay, I feel like I just got in the box. Never mind. I'm done with that part. Now I love when Jason went to that diner and when he got himself arrested and he saw Dawn. I wasn't then. You know, he's sitting there smoking. I'm like, what is he getting at? I didn't get it. But and then when he got arrested and Dawn showed up, and I feel like there's going to be more to her story also. So I think if they get another season, I could see them exploring that a little bit. There's a few storylines and characters they probably will expand on, and I bet she's one of them. But when he went to jail and Daniela picked him up, I like how that whole scene played out. Like when he told her, just call me. Like, I like when in a show like that, there's someone who will believe you, you know, and there's someone you can tell and they'll believe you. Just like when Jason 1 went into the world where Daniela was, she was an artist in all the world, but the one where she was friends with Ryan, and they went back to. So it was the Daniela that he went to, that Jason 2 went to, and said, you know, you're probably never going to see me again. That one. So when they were at Daniela's apartment and Ryan was there, and Jason 1 told them what happened to him, sort of what he knew, and Ryan didn't believe him, but Daniela appeared to believe him, and I like when that happens, when you tell someone something in this situation and they believe you, because it's almost like it makes a better show if at least one person believes you. So, and then the Daniela from his world, when he told her, and she was skeptical, but then he said, you know, call my phone, and she called, and the other Jason answered, and she, you know, she was shocked, but he got through to her a little bit in that moment. And that was a good scene. I like that because it didn't leave him like he was so crazy and feeling desperate or anything. Okay, so then back when Jason 2 was taking Charlie to school, um, well, he took him to his college to do a tour, and he's being followed by, I would call him Burn Jason, because this Jason that was following him, one of the split Jasons, you know, the side of his face was burned, and man, that Jason had been through some things. He was limping, the side of his face was burnt. That Jason just seemed so desperate, and it was just, oh, I felt for that one. So that whole scene played out. They were running about the campus, and it was just there was Jason 2 was so anxious, and that whole scene was just anxiousness, and Charlie was like, you're acting really weird, and I was like, where is this going? So Jason 2, when he ends up sending Charlie on his way, and he tries to lose the Burn Jason, and they struggle in the bathroom fight, and he kills him. And listen, Jason 2 had no plan at all, because he puts Burn Jason in the bathroom stall and locks the door. Okay, so he'll be found at some point. So then that moves on, and he gets Charlie to the house. And when Daniela shows up at the house, suspicious, because remember, she had just talked to the real Jason. And so they're packing, because Jason 2, again, who did not have a plan, is like, we got to get out. We're in trouble. You know, something went wrong with the deal. But here's the thing. I feel like I'm surprised Daniela got out of that, because she was acting so suspicious towards him. Like when he told her, let's pack, we got to get out of here, she didn't ask any questions. She was just like, okay. But if Jason 2 had been thinking, he would have figured out something was up with Daniela, because she wouldn't just agree to packing up and leaving. I thought that was odd. So anyway, she gets a master plan to get them out of the house. And after Charlie's out in the car, and she pushes Jason 2 down the steps and makes her escape, here comes a crash from another Jason. And this is where all the Jason confusion comes in, and they crash. He yells to her, it's not safe, get in the car. She gets in the car with him, and at this point I'm thinking that's Jason 1 and not one of the split Jasons. So when they take off and they're driving, and she looks down at the screwdriver in the car, and she says stop the car, we need to get out. I'm thinking, well, what does the screwdriver have to do with anything? Why did that make her suspicious? So then when I watched it back, I realized it was more about what he said before she looked at the screwdriver, which is, he repeated the same thing Jason 1 said, except he said, this is, the last time I saw you was, A, B, and C. And that's what the other Jason said. So if that was the real Jason, he wouldn't have said the last time I saw you was just before I went out to the bar with Ryan. So after I watched it back, I was like, oh, I think that was the main reason why she was suspicious. Because I think I posted a message, or I tweeted that, and someone responded, well, it's because he stole the car, and it made her suspicious. But it wasn't their car, so that wouldn't have made her suspicious that he had to use the screwdriver to start the car, was my point. So I think it was mainly that what he said prior to that. And then I don't know, the screwdriver just confused me, but I got how she came to the conclusion that wasn't the Jason that she thought, she knew. So then after they escape, and they end up, that episode ends with them going to the being in Chicago, and they meet up with Jason and hug. And then that was the end of that scene. So then we're at the finale, the last episode. And I have mixed feelings on this. I do, it was a lot of all the family time. Okay. And then Blair, the whole Blair situation, we were kind of left hanging with that, because she ended up coming in on both Jasons and finding out what happened. We don't know what happened to Blair, because after the Blair scene, then the other Jason shows up in the mansion that Charlie, Daniela, and Jason are at. So, at that mansion, all the Jasons show up, and there's like all this shooting and killing, and it's like a bloodbath. But the Jason 2, who started all this mess, does come through, and he ends up being the one to help them escape. So once he does help them escape, and they get in the car, and they're headed to the box, which we don't know exactly where they're headed to, but we figure that's where they're headed to. And so Charlie's in the back seat of the car they're in, and he looks and finds all the ampules. And I wondered about that, because I knew Daniela knew about the ampules, and I thought maybe they were going to end up going back to the storage unit to get them. But looks like Jason 2 gave them everything, gave them all the ampules that he had. And then also, speaking of the ampules, when they were in the box, went back to Amanda and Jason when they were in the box, and I thought Amanda grabbed 2 backpacks, so they should have had 100 ampules, right? Anyway, back to this. So at the end, they ended up going to the box, and when they get to the box, Charlie, Daniela, and Jason they go to the box, because now they're going to escape, because there's no way they can stay where they are. And there's like this gang of Jasons there, and there's one Jason is like, why does he get to keep Daniela? And there's another reasonable Jason, and it's a lot. So it actually ends with them going in the box, right? So here's my thing about the series. Okay, so they go in the box, and then they flash to everyone, and they kind of wrap things up to where this could be the end of the series. If they didn't get another season, for me, like, as much as I love this show and I loved all the episodes, when it was over, I was not like, ooh, I need another season. Like, I didn't feel like that. Like, I didn't feel like it was a bad season at all, but it didn't leave me wanting more. And I don't know if that was because they kind of wrapped it up to where it could be finished, but they also made it to where they could continue. But for me, the finale episode did not leave me wanting more. I'm okay, which is unusual for me because time travel all day long. But I'm okay if they ended the season. But if they do get a second season, if they ended the series, I mean, but if they do get a second season, I'm all for it. So how it ended was, they went in the box and then they showed Ryan and they showed Ryan meeting up with Amanda, which, apparently they're in the same world, that perfect world. And then they showed Dawn waiting for Jason 2, it looks like, to come back because I don't know what else Dawn has going on. Not the detective Dawn, but the Dawn from Jason 2's world. And then they show Blair leaving the world that she stayed in, the bug world, because she wasn't ready to get back in the box. And then Leighton's traveling, having a good old time. So they could come back with another season, but I feel like that last episode was written just in case they don't get another season. But tell me what you think. If they get another season, I'm all for it. If not, I'm okay. So let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. Bye.